Order. Thank you very much. Mark, only those matters that were for closed session were the only matters discussed. Coming out of closed session, just like to say there was one aspect on legal. The Ayton Mill Pond Shuet case, the pre-trial, pre-hearing will be this Friday. It was originally scheduled for Walkerton, but it will be in Owen Sound. And the pre-trial is, I guess I'm going to say that it's not for public. It'll be between the judge and the two sides to see whether we go to trial with that from the judge's perspective. What's the other mark? Oh yeah, and the other one was coming out, giving a report. I'll say that the Joint Building Department, there has been some turnover with staff there. The CBO and one of the inspectors have both taken positions at other areas and other municipalities. So we have put together a case or a program that we'll be able to look after and continue on as we go forward in how this model is going to continue with our partners. So there are a few moving parts in that, but the joint building, there'll still be hopefully good service in the field there for our builders to continue on building and making the dreams for individuals here in West Grey. Other than that, I think that's about it from closed session. That'll move us down then to comment period. Is there anyone who has a comment on anything on the agenda this morning? Very good. Consent agenda. You know what I didn't do, Mark?
Oops. Oops, sorry, that's my fault.
So, Adam, all of those ones. Now we'll get back to open session of council. I need a motion. I have a motion moved by Doug Hutchison, seconded by John A. Bell. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby returns to open session of council at 10:08 a.m. Any questions or comments on the motion to return to open session? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. So I'll let you, Adam, you can edit that and put what I said there just before and throw it back in and behind that, back into open session. Thank you very much. Consent agenda. I have a motion moved by Rob Thompson, seconded by R. Herget. Be resolved that items A1 to B1 inclusive contained in Part 1 consent agenda be adopted as printed, and further that authorization be given for the actions to be taken as may be necessary to give effect to the recommendations contained therein. Any questions on the consent, John? Mr. Bell?
Not a question, Mr. Mayor, just more of a correction. The West Grey Parks Committee, I think it's slated on here for October the 3rd. I do think they're meeting October the 4th at 7 p.m. And I presume that's still at the Fire Hall boardroom, but that date has changed.
Changed, yep.
Okay.
Very good. That happened over the weekend. Okay, anything else? Corrections, Bev?
I don't know about the correction, but I'm just wondering why draft minutes are in for the West Grey committees. Like September 5th, we haven't had a meeting for Parks to approve those minutes, so I don't understand why the draft minutes are in.
I was provided the draft minutes by the recreation manager, so I put them in the agenda.
Yeah, but they should not really be in here because council can't accept them because they haven't been approved.
We do receive them, we don't adopt them, but there are others that do come as draft. Committee of Adjustment is one, and there are others as well. We do leave it at the discretion of the various committees. We do encourage them to provide draft minutes ahead of time so that it's a timely for not only council but for the public, but that is a discretionary decision that those committees can make.
Okay? So further, if we want, we can, however the Parks wants their minutes received, that'll be fine. Okay? Anything else? Rebecca?
Out of the Newstat rec minutes, just noticing that there were items sold, and so
Do you want those ones pulled?
I would
We're
like
gonna
those,
get in-
please.
okay.
Yes, please.
Pull the Newstead ones. All right. Anything else on the consent? Corrections? Okay. The Newstead rec minutes are pulled, so the consent is to receive all the rest and the resolutions contained therein. Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay. And we'll deal with those at the appropriate time under new business. Okay. That brings us down to communications from Mayor and Council. Is there any communications? Anything happened in the municipality in the last little while? Doug, Councillor Hutchison.
Sure, just a couple items. On Saturday, there was voting information sessions in Ayton and Durham. I don't think there was any other areas at this point. Ayton was in the morning and Durham's was in the afternoon. And I happened to make it over to one of those at the Durham Community Center, and they weren't very well attended. I think a total of probably half a dozen people between all 4 sessions. Is that correct, Mark? There are 3 sessions, I guess. One was canceled. Yeah, 4 sessions that were offered.
Yeah, actually, there's 2 sessions, both at Normanby and at Durham. For this, each of the second sessions had nobody in attendance, unfortunately.
Yeah. So I guess that's a good thing, that everybody knows what's going on and knows how to vote, and there's no question. So it's going to be lickety-split this year, so that's good. One other item that's coming up this evening that people may or may not be aware of is that there's a public info session on marijuana use and your children, I believe is the theme behind it. It's I believe it's our public health department's putting that on, I think. It's at the Durham Community Center at 7 p.m. So if you're interested in finding some information about the effects of marijuana on your children, that would be a good place to go. So, thank you.
Okay. And I believe they have a lot of, it's not only just from public health, there is some of the emergency measures, individuals are there too. It's fairly informative sessions. Okay, anything else? Rebecca?
Yes, so out of the new Normanby Rec Committee, save the date for November 17th. There's going to be a full day long activities going on in Ayton around the idea of Christmas, and there's the Lionesses are putting on a craft sale. It's going to be a full day of events. There's a chili cook-off, ... Save the date, November 17th in Ayton. This last week, we planted trees in each community. Tree Canada came, McLean's Home Hardware, and Parks. And maybe Bev wants to speak more to that. But anyway, we planted an oak and a Freeman's maple, and there were 2 in each community. It was well attended in Elmwood there. Then October is Library Food for Fines Month, so if you have any fines at the library, bring in a piece of food for the food bank and reduce your fines that way. Durham Art Gallery this weekend had a new exhibit about elections, and I encourage everybody to go to the art gallery. It was a really fantastic presentation. The artists were actually on hand as well. And just continue to sign up for the news and notices. We're trying to get good communication out that way.
Very good. Anything else? The Bentig plowing match was on Saturday, very well attended, on one of the Magwood farms, just off of County Road 28 in Bentig. And the meal was done by the Crawford Women's Institute, I think. I'm not just sure. I know that the women put on a very good meal anyways back at Lamlash Hall. A number of individuals from council and some candidates made it out to that. On Sunday, I had the pleasure of being at the Baptist Church, Durham Baptist Church, had invited me to bring greetings, It was the opening of the renovations to the Baptist Church on Lambton Street here. They've done extensive renovations. It used to be a drop down into the service area. Now it's flat. They took the bowl section out and put an addition onto the back. Tremendous project. And interestingly enough, it was the 165th anniversary of the Durham Baptist Church. And they had the great, thank you, Bev, three greats, grandson of the founder of the Baptist Church in Durham, Alexander Stewart, and as the great-grandson had said, was Alexander was a very common name for Scottish immigrants, and so he was known as Red Sandy, and Red Sandy did an awful lot of developing the Baptist Church faith and a lot of the churches around here. Incredible, one of the stories, and I've heard that before, and it was confirmed by the speaker on Sunday, that he walked an awful lot. When he was 11 years old, he had been working since he was 8 in Scotland, and by the time he got to be 11, he had saved enough money that he was able to go to school for 16 weeks. Because in Scotland, at that point, back in the early 1800s, you had to pay. So he had saved up enough money from being a farm laborer that he had enough that he could pay to go to school for 16 weeks. He walked 9 miles to go to school. That was one way. One way every day for 16 weeks. He went to school, he walked 9 miles there and 9 miles back. Obviously, he never gave that up because one of the stories was that once he had established the church here in Durham, he had started in Delhi in the Simcoe area and still had a great connection there. So on a Friday at noon, he finished a meeting in Simcoe and he had a baptism and a service in Durham at 11 o'clock on Sunday. And he was there and delivered the service and baptized a new child into the Baptist. That's 120 miles that he covered on paths because there was very few roads at that point in time. From Friday at noon, and he was less than 48 hours later, he was here in Durham to deliver the service. He did admit that he got a horseback ride for 20 miles, but the other 100 miles he walked in that 48 hours. So an incredible individual that was about 90, I think they said he was 94 when he had finally passed away in the early 1900s here. So very historical, and congratulations to was able to bring congratulations to the Baptist Church in Durham here on that. 165 years, yeah, that's 14 years before Confederation that the church was started here in Durham. So congratulations to them, and to all the other activities. To the ATV Club, had a successful wing night on Saturday. Some people were able to get the sauce wiped off of their beards. That's good, Steve. And a lot of people were there as well too, so congratulations on their part. Rebecca, further?
Just one other thing that came out of Elmwood last night was that there's a wing night on Friday night, 7 p.m. in the pavilion. So see you there.
6 to 11, I thought it was 6 o'clock. I don't know. Show up in Elmwood on Friday night. There's all kinds of things to do if you're there early. Okay. All right. If that's all the communications, delegations, Mark, we have no delegations this morning. So that brings us down to business arising. I don't think there's anything arising out of the previous meeting. So we'll go to staff reports. We'll bring that Newstead one up under new business after bylaws. Okay. So the first one, we have the treasurer's report, and welcome here this morning, Carry. The first one is the vouchers. I have a motion moved by Bev Cutting, second by R. Herget. Be resolved that the Director of Finance Treasurer be authorized to pay the accounts presented as voucher number 18, 2018, in the amount of $614,661.09 of the Municipality of West Grey. Any comments on the motion? Go ahead, Bev.
I have a question.
On the accounts? Well, now's the time.
Yep. On page 10, Carrie, under Parks and Rec, there are porta potties, and also under Newstat, there are porta potties. So are they coming are they coming out of parks? Because they were supposed to come out of, we were told at the meeting they were coming out of Public Works.
Yeah, it's not the Parks Committee accounts, but it is Parks accounts. But it's not Parks Committee accounts.
Okay. Thank you.
Down here. Doug?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Councillor Hutchison.
Yeah, just a couple questions. Page 50, page 3 on yours, Carrie. There was a question or something about canine services, persistent noise, and I just wasn't sure. There was a name involved there. So was that a fine or something? Like it was $260. Do you know what that was? Like actually it says legal services.
You turn that on, Mark?
I'm guessing they charge them.
Charge them for something.
Yes, that was a fine that was taken to be prosecuted.
So that'd be the prosecution costs to the, for the legal of defending that fine.
Okay. Another one, page 51, and this maybe Brent can answer this one. Maxim signs, solar powered speed limit sign, is that the one that's on Durham Road East? And is it going to be a permanent thing, or is it something just there for the construction?
No, it's a permanent sign that we installed there, Councillor Hutchison, and it's only because of the concerns that some of the other councillors had. That, but more specifically, I tried to have it up for during the construction that's occurring on Lambton Street, Bruce Street.
Right.
But to get people to recognize the entry coming in, especially coming in into town, to get them bring heightened awareness to their speeds as they're approaching the urban area.
Okay. Yeah, and if you find any more money, you could probably use 2 or 3 more up there. But anyways, notice there has been more police presence, which is a good thing because there is a lot of traffic on that road now, especially with the construction. And on page 59, again, maybe this is for Brent. It's page 11 on yours, Carrie. There was a bridge repair done for $110,000, and I'm not sure, is that for guardrails? Can you explain what was all for, Brent?
Councillor Hutchison, I did provide a report in my last meeting that provided the details of that, but you're correct. It did include deck repairs and safety approaches to that structure. Okay, all right. I'd so forgotten what that. We're repairing so many bridges, it's hard to keep track, Brent. So, and the last one on page 59, also about there's tree costs, and I'm just wondering what that was. Reimbursement for 2 trees during construction was that on Bruce Street, or what was that for? Like we paid for trees that were taken down during construction, I presume. Yeah, so maybe you don't recall, but this past February, when we were preparing for the construction of Bruce Street and Lambton Street, there were there's 5 trees identified that had been removed. 2 homes on Bruce Street had significant, substantially large maples in front of the residence. Curbside appeal, when you take the trees down, of course, it doesn't look as
pretty as it did before, and it was a method of goodwill that I provided reimbursement to those people that they could put towards another tree on their own property. So in other words, the key is that they invest the money in the tree, not West Grey, because I don't want them coming back after a year later and saying the tree's dead, you need to replace it again. So it's a one-time fee, and they can do what they want with the money. It's hoped that they would replant a tree on their front property once the construction's done.
Yeah. So I guess these trees, obviously some of them were very old trees, have been there a long time. The unfortunate thing is that they were planted on public property, municipal property, rather than their own property, right? So, as you say, I guess
Correct.
It's a goodwill gesture, and
But they were all healthy trees,
yeah, for sure.
which is unfortunate, but
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunate they were on our property, which we needed to do something with. So. Okay, thank you.
Rebecca? Councillor
Just carrying along with this tree idea, I appreciate the explanation you've offered. What did we do with the trees that we took down? Were those mulched up? Is that now mulch in the Parks Department?
So Grey County, because it's their road allowance, Grey County Transportation Services removed the trees. They absorbed those costs, and the bulk of the wood, the larger portions, we approached the adjacent landowners to see if they were interested. That's why you saw some of the log refuse left on the front yard, because they wanted to keep it. Otherwise, we would have cleaned it up right away.
Okay. And then I only have one question then for Carrie. Cuneo Interiors, page 59. It's in the amount of $6,153.38. That was the Norman B flooring. We had already paid for the flooring, though. I think it was about $43,000. So I was just curious what this was for.
This is in the kitchen, bar, and dishwash area. The other was different
Just
areas.
the arena, or just the hall area? Okay, okay. And so is that still is that on budget then? That same amount?
Yes, it's
All
budgeted.
together, okay.
Yeah,
Thank
still
you.
within. Okay. Any, excuse me, any other questions? Call the question. Oh. Excuse me, sorry about that, Adam. Should shut that mic off if I'm going to do that. Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Here we are. Okay. Anything else, Carrie?
Just a reminder, submit your timesheets today, if possible.
Very good. Thank you. All right. Any other questions for Carrie? Still very busy, Carrie. Starting to put some of the budgets together. Yeah. I guess I wanted just starting to put them together. I did hear a comment from somebody that was shocked at the 2019 police budget. I'm not aware, as being board chair, that we have even put that budget together yet. But there was comments made the other day to me that how much it's going up. I said, well, we haven't put it together yet. So I guess just publicly I want to say the budgets aren't together yet for any of the departments, haven't been presented. So any comments on the huge increases are a little bit premature at this point in time.
It's election year.
Could be that, could be that. Okay. But Carrie is working with the staff, the directors of all the departments, on trying to start pulling that budget together. And if you think she's got a lot of papers on her desk here in the chambers, she doesn't want you in her office to see the papers that are all over there trying to put everything together. Yeah, don't sneeze. If you have a cold, don't go into her office and sneeze and blow things and destroy the order that it's in. All right. Thanks, Carrie. Okay. That's all for you. Thank you for coming in this morning, Carrie. And down to Brent. First report here is received on the waste and recycling operations on the landfill. Anything else you want to express on that, on the bylaw that's up? Or any questions on the bylaw, the way it's written? Doug? Councillor Hutchison?
Sorry. I just don't have it in front of me here, but I think one of the questions I had when I was reading about the bylaw and all the things in there, Brent, we don't mention about people using plastic bags to put their recycle material in. And I'm wondering if we should have that in there because it's something that we're trying to discourage, right? Especially with the waste management saying it being an issue with the plastic getting caught in their machines. I didn't know if that should be in there or whether that's just something we need to try to promote with our education part.
Yeah, we've made a number of changes to our bylaw, and I was trying to approach this as gradual steps for improvement. We're doing a lot of education at the landfills with, we're trying to start at the landfills and getting people educated at the landfills and do the proper recycling. Staff are doing a marvelous job communicating that message to the public coming into the landfill. My thoughts on this is, it's a good point, but I'm just wondering, by putting so many drastic changes all at once, it's going to cause a bit more. What I'd like to do is let this go for a bit, see how it's working, and it offers the ability for us to come back and make those slight changes. I do have, again, and if you bear with me on this, is the Bannock landfill, even though those, you saw the fee schedule in there, I just met with a consultant last week to look at rewriting our certificates of approval at both the Durham and Bannock landfills for, the Bannock, bear with me on this, the Bannock landfill, so that we can accept asphalt, we can accept stumps, and some other construction stuff that is not currently identified in our certificate of approval. We have to get that approval first. So I'm building, there will be a new revised fee schedule that will be introduced at some point next year. So there's going to be, again, I just wanted to get it completed to what we currently have operational right now. So those slight things that you're talking about, if we get going, promoting and getting the public on side, hopefully when we do create the new bylaw that we can put it in there and people are on side and are already started to do that type of operation that you were talking about.
And I guess, you know, if there was time available, the chap that's looking after the recycling part of it could actually open those bags and pull the plastic out so people visually see, hey, we don't put the plastic in here, but we're going to dump it in. Thanks for coming in, and keep the plastic out. So that's one way of trying to.
We are doing that.
Okay. Okay. Good.
Staff are actually going through and checking the recycling and letting people know that if it's contaminated or needing cleaned, letting the people know. So they're pulling that dirty recycling part out of it, or it's deemed as landfill. Right. It's landfill material.
Okay, that's good. So the message gets out.
Staff are working on it. Yes.
Okay. All right. I had one other question on the fee schedule. On the fee schedule, scrap metal was that to the Durham landfill on the weekend, and that seems to be a bit of a contentious issue. That people are a little bit concerned when we're charging for scrap metal. It says $25 per 1,000 kilograms. So I'm not sure if you only have like 10 kilograms how much you're paying, but there must be there must be a rate or something. But some people are saying, and my thoughts are, we're making money on the scrap metal ourselves, right? Because we can sell it. So if we discourage people bringing it, then maybe we're going to lose that revenue to a private enterprise.
Again, it's a handling fee. We have to use our own equipment and staff to move that stuff around.
Right.
maybe 25 isn't the right number, but it's
Yeah.
it's not that dear, really,
Yeah.
when you look
Okay.
at majority of the people that bring in scrap. You know, it's not going to be
Right.
a horrendous amount, so they would, on $25 per metric ton, that's quite a bit of steel.
Yeah, okay. Well, I was just, that was the comment made from our landfill person, so I said I would relay it. It's just something we'll make.
It's
maybe
entirely,
monitor and
it's
see.
entirely up to council if council
Yeah.
wishes to change it. But again, I'm just looking at a handling fee because we do have to push it up with our loader. We're using the fuel, we're using our equipment.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, John.
Yeah, just going along with that, anybody that has a ton of steel is more likely to take it to Scone directly than they are to take it to the landfill.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're going to get more money for it.
They'll get more money for it there, and that is part that should probably be promoted. Drive up there, yeah, like a ton of steel. I'm not exactly sure. Like, that market goes up and down all the time, but they'll get significantly more than taking it to our local landfill.
Rebecca?
So I do have just a couple items to clarify. So page 86 would be the Durham and Bentic landfill tipping fee. So this is only as it relates to where we have scales at, right? So the minimum charge rate per, I believe that we should just add in per bag, per, it's just something to describe exactly what we're accepting, right? If we go back to the definitions there at the beginning of the bylaw, it'd be 1 unit, 1 bag, right? Right, under 20 kg.
So it's a good point because that was brought to my attention by another person. And I guess what I was stuck on, if somebody doesn't bring in a bag, they bring in a small coffee table. Or they bring in anything other than a bag. Like the minimum charge is $5. Minimum, so it could be a coffee table that's under 20 kilograms. Or they bring in a small tricycle. That's
So one item.
it
under
could
20
be something
kilograms.
that somebody's just trying to get rid of. But I understand where you're going with it, and I didn't want to say if I put minimum charge for 1 bag, it means that we're charging $5 for a bag. But if somebody brings in a window, they want to get rid of a window, or they just those one little items that they're just wanting to get rid of.
But why wouldn't we just be using the weight then?
But the weight, you're right, we still weigh it, but the minimum charge is still $5.
Okay.
Regardless of what you bring in, it's still $5 for a bag, for
Anything under 20 kg.
a
So-
small
item
coffee
is
table or,
So I guess the
yes,
question
that's
is,
correct.
Right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
just less than 20 kilograms. Content of less than 20 kilograms, $5.
Minimum charge, okay, so you want me to put the actual weight, minimum charge for up to a maximum of, or no, help me out, Mark.
Just under 20 kilograms. So just a rate per 20 kilograms or less. So it's going to be $5
Yes.
if it's less than 20
Yes, you're right,
kilograms.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that clarifies it, just rate under 20 kilograms, $5. Okay? We good with that, Rebecca?
Yeah.
Yep.
Something
All
else.
right, good. Next item.
Yes, so I don't know, I don't live in town. When was the last time we had a yard waste pickup? Was there ever a day, have you done that yet?
It used to be in the bylaw.
I read it in
It
this
hasn't
bylaw.
been completed for some years, so I removed it.
So it's still in here though, right?
I thought I removed it.
It's still
Still
in
there.
It is?
Yeah. I mean, we can leave it in there and maybe we should be using it.
I'm
if
sorry,
it's
Rebecca,
something-
what item was it?
Uh,
Or sorry, Councillor Hergert?
yeah, no worries. Yeah, just give me a minute, I'll find it back here.
Everybody said that they read it in the bylaw, now they're trying to find where they read it. 7.9, page 79.
Page 79.
Page 79 in your package, section 3,
3.1
3.1,
is deemed necessary, so that is discretion.
as deemed necessary, so yeah.
Discretion.
I mean, it can be left in, but have we ever done it?
Okay.
Should we continue to do it?
Sorry, maybe I misread it. I thought this was specifically for yard and leaf pickup, which we do. We do that in the fall.
Yep.
I'm sorry, I got confused because what I removed is the large, there was a reference to a large pickup or large, like furniture and things like that was offered once a year. I removed that because that hasn't been taking place for quite some time.
Right.
But the
But the
yard,
yard still goes
and
on.
leaf, or the leaf pickup, I left it in because we had been doing it, and again, I didn't have an opportunity to.
Not for the whole municipality.
I think we leave it in for now. Again, didn't want to push a whole lot of changes into this current agreement or this bylaw that would really upset the public. I'd like to run the costs on it, is see how much it actually costs to do that type of activity.
So it's still
It's
there,
up-
and it's still done on a regular basis sometime after Thanksgiving, I believe.
So
is
it
usually
would
when
be
it's done.
my job, exactly, it would be my job to say, and put out a notice to the public saying, this is the day that we're doing or the week. I don't know if it should be the week. I forget whether it's one day or whether they do it over a week period. I don't think the staff can pick up all of Durham's and Newstead's leaf collection all in one day. I don't think that's feasible. I think it's probably over a week.
Yep.
So that'd be my duty to perhaps put out a notice very soon that we're identifying this is the week of doing that, and yeah. That has occurred since I've been here anyways.
Okay. Rob?
I'm going to suggest that maybe we need further discussion on some of this. There's some items on here in the bylaw that I'm not comfortable with. I mean, the metal and the brush and so on and so forth, and then the pickup and so on for your leaves and so on. Just wonder if we shouldn't maybe look at it to committee of the whole and discuss it a little further before we proceed any further on. Table it. Unless you want to have a discussion quickly now.
Well, I think we should discuss it because there is some of the fees and charges are in here that were proposed. And we should have those in place. So maybe there's some of the schedules can be amended or withdrawn and inserted after further discussion. It's come up, the bylaw's on. We can give it first, we could even give it first and second reading and then see, or we can approve with amendments. So whatever you want to, how we want to think about that till we get down to bylaws here shortly. Give us a few minutes to administratively work on that solution. All right, good, Rob?
Thank you.
All right, good. Okay, any further discussion? On that item for Brent, very good. All right, we'll deal with some of that when we get down to the bylaw. Second one is then the McKay lease. Renewing that lease agreement on the access on the McKay pit to our gravel aggregate pit up on 23. Rebecca, questions?
I have to say, last year, I wasn't in very long, maybe it was May, we went and took a road tour, a road and bridges tour that Brent had set up, and I was able to see this operation in work, actual real life. And it is a very good agreement that's been set up, and allow access and moving of the gravel around. So I did appreciate the road tour, and it gave me a firsthand look at this, and I do appreciate that it's a good agreement to just work with the neighbor and see when we need access, and this is a good agreement.
Okay. Any other questions on the bylaw? Doug?
Maybe not a question, but just a comment. I like the fact that in there that we have first dibs on potential buying the property if she ever decides to sell. I think that's important, especially when it's by our land or by our pit. So I think that's good that that's in the agreement.
Yep. Just renewing one that's been in place comes back from Gnaug days, I believe.
Yeah, there was the old agreement had reference to us being the licensee and things like that, so it was cleaned up. Had our solicitor take a look at it and review it and cleaned it up to exactly what you see here. It's just...
Very good. Okay. Seems like that one's ready to go then. Anything else? Any other questions of Brent? Bev?
Where you have here that the restricted access to the landfill site is to West Grey residents only, how do we prove that? Or how do the, I know that the one over in Hanover, they have cards that are given out and you have to show your card when you go in, but how are we expecting that to be enforced?
So currently right now, my understanding is that the staff that are looking after recycling are asking the people when they drive in, are you a West Grey resident? And they found one gentleman had to turn around and go back out because he wasn't. So that is currently being part of the process. Once you see the same people coming in all the time, you get to know that, but
I know that all West Grey residents are extremely honest, but if somebody asked somebody that wanted to dump something, are you from West Grey, and they say yes,
then they would say, can you tell me where you live? Or
they don't look at a license, or they don't look at something with an address on it, because there are verify, I mean, your license
When you're talking,
shows.
keep that on.
Yeah. You really?
I know.
Sorry, Ed.
So it's not, you're absolutely right, Councillor Cutting, it's not bulletproof, but we are asking, and I don't know if that was even considered beforehand, but our staff are making the effort to at least ask that question.
Have we thought about like a card system that Hanover has? I know it would be like a one-time thing, and you get the card, and that allowed one free dump a year, I think in Hanover is how it works.
Actually, Hanover, there's a gentleman that, a landfill attendant that asks you, and he writes down where you live. That question is directly asked, and they write it right on their clipboard. They screen the people for the very reason that they're getting outside people coming to the landfill. But that is something we can work towards and make an improvement as a part of that responsibility of that person checking the recycling, is saying, where are you from? Where do you live? And asking them.
Concession 2 works.
It's always been something, but it is in the license for the landfill is only for municipal residents. That's black and white what's in the license. Of course, landfill up in the northeast corner, just across Highway 10, has that issue on a constant basis as well too. Some West Grey residents can see that landfill, but they don't live in that municipality. So they have to come to Durham and or Bentic would be the next closest for them. So it's a bit of an issue, but how strictly do you get down to it? It's a tough thing. You've got cards, and do you remember, Bev? Gnaug at one point in time had a card, and Bentic had them. Well, the nice part about that was that, you know, you had somebody fill up the pickup truck that your neighbor that didn't happen to live in the area, but they have the card, well, now you can, yeah, it comes to a bit of just honesty, you know, and trying to work with the system. Rebecca?
But to Bev's point about, you know, who is bringing stuff and is it hazardous or, you know, like we've talked about it several times, even at our committee of the whole, who's bringing stuff in, is it going in the right spot and so on. I mean, is writing down an address, is that too much? You know, even in our fill bylaw, we talked about if there would be leachate and so on come out of the items. So if somebody puts oil in the landfill spot instead of the household hazardous waste, at least we have their name and their address written down, and we could advise that that's not acceptable and we're not going to carry on like that. I mean, is writing down an address, you're already taking pictures of license plates, right, for identifying?
Well, we're not taking the pictures, we're
oh, pardon, sorry, okay. We are identifying a vehicle as it comes in to the landfill with a weight, so that when they leave, we can also attach the same, like the difference, right?
It's just for monitoring, so we make sure we've got the right, as people queue into the scale, we've got, because they will, depending on who's coming into the landfill, some of them will be a lot quicker than the other one, and it's just making sure
just for identifying that vehicle.
Yeah, it's just for identification purposes only.
So to what Bev said, I mean, maybe I don't always bring my whole wallet or something, but you'd have a driver's license, you'd have a piece of information, your insurance or so on, which I know you must have your driver's license to drive and so on, but
I don't think we have the right to ask that.
I was just gonna, if I may.
Thank you.
Go ahead,
even to
Rob.
just identify.
There's only one group of people that can ask for your driver's license, and they wear a uniform. You have no right to ask for a driver's license at the landfill.
Okay, so what about your insurance officer?
None of the documents.
Personal identification can only be asked by an officer.
That's why they get returning officer. Like that.
Or returning officer if at an election. But it's an officer. Yes?
This is going to be a bylaw, so are we going to have a bylaw officer there?
Yeah.
Something to think about.
Well, it's in there that it's only for the residents, and I think, you know, you just said for the most part, people are fairly honest. You get into that question, you've got somebody that lives outside of the municipality but is helping a friend or whatever, and they're delivering. It is garbage from, or refuse from the municipality, you know. It gets a little difficult to interpret. I don't think we have a whole lot, but as you said, we did find in the last couple of weeks at the Bendick landfill, there was an individual, and yeah, I'm not, and turned away and went. I'm almost positive to believe that he went to the required landfill with the refuse that he had. Yep. Okay. All right. Anything else for Brent? Before we get down to his two bylaws. Okay, on to the clerk's report. Mark, first one is looking for support. Council, we've had the South Glengarry resolution petitioning the province to list paramedic services as full essential service. Thoughts from council? Mark's got a resolution here, if we want to support it, or looking for comments. Do you want to put that on record, that question? Put the mic on.
What's the reason for it?
Mark?
There are other services deemed as essential services, so if there was a strike, for instance, there would be obviously instances where paramedic services would be required, but perhaps not available, so that's the rationale behind it. If it was deemed an essential service, then they would continue to provide that service.
Go ahead.
Can we receive for information?
Absolutely. Yeah. That is an option, Bev. Doug?
My thinking is on this, though, is that if there was such a thing as if they were to go on strike, it puts more pressure on the police and the fire to carry a load if there were something major came up. Whereas if they're made essential services, you wouldn't run into that situation. I don't know all the ins and outs of, what that would look like down the road, but I'm just thinking that they are pretty essential when it comes to our paramedics, and I would hate not having that service for any reason, so that's my thought.
Rebecca?
Do you know if
Councillor
this
Hergen.
has been discussed at Grey County, or is this something coming your way at the county level? This is where paramedics are dealt with in Grey.
No. No, it wasn't at our last, wasn't on the consent agenda in our last meeting. That's where it would probably come through. And I'm not sure when it comes through here, Mark. Is it on the resolution? Should be on the resolution, isn't it?
September 6th.
Yeah, sorry, there it is, September the 6th. So, yeah, it wouldn't have been circulated through before the county council. We wouldn't have got it at that point in time. So it may be on the next county council, which would be October the 11th. Doug?
So can I suggest that we just receive for information until the county's had a chance to visit this, because it may not be necessary in our end to designate.
Yep.
Okay, I agree.
Okay, if that's fine with the council, we can receive for information, and just have that in the minutes. We don't need a motion to do that. Everybody, the consensus is fine with that? Don't see anybody? Fine. We'll leave it at that. It's just received for information. Okay? Anything else for Mark? Seeing none, then we're down to bylaws. Mark? Well, we'll find out whether we want any amendments to it, or whether we want to just take first and second reading.
Just an incorrect legal address.
Yeah. So you found out the registry office, or?
I found it out. I just had deleted a section of the previous one.
Okay. Okay, we have 4 bylaws, and the first one starting is bylaw 111, 13, 12, and 14. There we go. All 4 resolutions. The first one is, it was identified that there was a slight error in the property description, and we have it absolute correct at this point in time. We have a motion moved by Bev Cutting, seconded by R. Herger. Be resolved that bylaw number 111, 2018, being a bylaw to assume Part Lot 12, Concession 1, part of Division 3, Part 4, Plan 16R-11074, part of PIN 37296-0169 LT, Geographic Township of Normanby, Municipality of West Grey, and the County of Grey into the municipal road system. Appeals bylaw number 104, 2018, being an B, now read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. As you can see with all those numbers, it might not be that difficult to get one interchanged, and Mark caught that before it got to the registry office. Okay, any other questions on the bylaw? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Not sure. Okay, the next one is bylaw 112, regulating and handling garbage. Just back. Motion is moved by Doug Hutchison, seconded by Rob Thompson. Be it resolved that bylaw number 112, 2018, being a bylaw to regulate the handling and collection of garbage, rubbish, and other waste materials, and confirm a schedule of fees for use of the Municipality of West Grey waste disposal sites be now read a first, second, and third time, passed as amended, and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. Questions or comments? Mr. Thompson. Rob?
As I suggested, we maybe table that, do the first and second reading, leave the third, so we have further discussion on the schedule fees. Is that possible?
Certain. First, the mover and seconder, fine with that? Just being read the first and second time?
Yeah, go first and second, discuss it a little further. May not be any changes, but I think it's worth discussing.
And there's comments on that? Go ahead, Mark.
So if it's given first and second reading, it then wouldn't come back till at least the October 15th council meeting. And then what direction would there be in the changes that's proposed by council that wouldn't be discussed till the 15th, and then it may not be passed to the November meeting, which is new council. I'm just wondering if there's that many concerns that it couldn't be dealt with by council, but I'll leave that, or at this meeting right now, or at least we have some direction from staff in terms of what issues there might be.
Okay. Rob?
Look, Mark, you said you wouldn't come back till November council meeting?
No, I'm saying if it came to the October 15th, I suppose there could be amendments made at that time. I guess if there are changes that could be incorporated, yes, that's correct, it could be passed October 15th. I do stand corrected, but it would be nice to have some direction in terms of what the concerns are, that we could look at that and perhaps provide some proposed changes, even for the 15th.
I can give you those two.
Okay.
Two of my reasonings.
Well, certainly could be done now, too. Doug?
Well, I just had a question that we didn't discuss, but I just wondered, we had talked about changing some of the hours, Brent, in the landfill, and you didn't do that in here. I'm not sure, is that something we're looking at maybe for next term or in the spring?
I was
Brent?
waiting, I was waiting for, because that has not been given, I have not received any direction as to which way this council wants to go with that, so I left it out.
Yeah.
Laura?
Thank you, Mayor Eccles. And I think, Brian, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think part of the challenge with approving that is there's going to be budget implications, and we were going to bring that through the budget process for the next term of council.
Okay. Is there any other concerns? I heard one earlier about the metals. Brent said it was about, basically administration, operation, just covering off the costs of loading, moving, stacking that. Brent?
Well, I was going to say, I think maybe I'm just reading you wrong, Councillor Thompson. I think you're stuck on that $25 and the $10 for the brush, but again, that's by the ton. and you know, those two items, the large brush involves our staff using equipment and things to move that larger material around. So I thought we've got to have some way of recovering a little bit of the operational costs that we have our staff, our time, our equipment allocated to moving that stuff around. I don't think it's very often we get large debris unless it's from a storm. And that would be up to council's decision. If we have a widespread storm similar to what happened many years ago when Durham suffered the tornado, I think the council lighten off on the purse strings and allow people to dispose of trees and stuff at no cost, because it's deemed as an emergency or and things like that. But again, it's just to the larger stuff. We have, you know, we can't burn. I'm trying to keep it down to a manageable size so that we can burn it efficiently. The other stuff, if it's bigger, it takes more time. Again, it's all about time and managing it or bearing it. It takes up volume in our landfill too. So again, it's just a you know, especially the larger chunks of wood or whatever. Unless we just, you know, it's all about just a modest. I call it a modest fee for what I referred to earlier, was just to recoup some of the administration and equipment costs that we spend on pushing some of these, you know, the steel scrap piles. We got our loader there that's using to push it up and things like that. So if you want to lighten, you know, if you think that's too harsh, then, you know, we can make an adjustment on that fee.
Rob? Yeah, okay, on the brush, so anything over 4 inches, you're going to be charging. So if you have a trailer, a utility trailer full of limbs and so on and so forth, or a hedge or whatever you removed, and you're not charging for that. So that's
Nope.
understandable. Okay.
No.
The metal, I just find, yeah, if you got a large 100 tons of it and you want to take it, you should be taking it to Scone. Anyways, that's where you're going to make money. You have to handle the metal, but in all fairness, you're developing revenue from that metal when you turn around and sell it to Scone, for example. So why should we? We're already paying for through our taxes for that. So I feel the metal should be free. You're already making money off it, and so they're disposing it there instead of throwing it off in the ditch in somebody's bush. It's going to the landfill, and then you're shipping it out anyway. So that was my only thing, is we shouldn't be charging for the metal products.
If I can offer, and I'll just put this on the table, and I'm good with whatever this council decides. There are other landfills that do charge for metal. As you bring it in, you charge. It's part of the tipping fee. Anyways, I just want this council to recognize that we're not the only ones that would do it. There's other municipalities that are charging for scrap metal, a modest fee for that. But if you want to take it out, you know, it's whatever this council wishes.
I'm just throwing it out for discussion, and that's just my thoughts.
Just to go along with that, Brent, is there a minimum charge for the metal? Like, it's 25 per 1,000 kilograms. So was there a minimum, like a $5 minimum? Because I'm not sure. Like, a lot of people wouldn't have a lot of metal. I'm just wondering what they're being charged. There is no minimum that you know of?
It was to catch if somebody brought in a bunch of bicycles or some old tire rims or things like that.
So then it was just strictly weight.
It's not to catch the small one-off little thing, because you're not going to be able to get a true accurate weight on something that's maybe 1 or 2 kilograms. The scale is not that sensitive to measure that. So it was meant to capture the larger stuff is what it was for. So if people have little pieces of aluminum or tin or things like that, you know, we're not going to. It's going to be part of the weighing charge for if they brought in a mixed load and it had a whole bunch of different things on it. If they want to take the effort to go around and sort it and then come back through the scale again, you know, that's fine. But otherwise, it would be just charged as sorted household, commercial or whatever, and they would pay the rate that's identified at the top.
Okay, John?
Yeah, so real quick, Brett.
Well,
Real quick, okay, this stuff's going across the scales, you're gonna be able to identify how much is in the trailer and whether it qualifies to be charged $25 or not, correct? Whether if it weighs over and it's all metal, it's gonna be charged 25 bucks.
I think,
The little stuff's, my point is, the little stuff's not gonna be charged, and they're gonna be directed around to throw it off themselves. They're gonna throw it off their trailer themselves, right onto the metal pile? Mm-hmm. Okay, so it doesn't require any, shall we say, supervision on that aspect of it, unless it's over the ton, and then they're gonna get charged 25 bucks, which they still have to throw off, but we have to, shall we say, absorb that, and our machine time's gonna have to put it on a trailer and either take it to school herself or wherever we're gonna dispose of it. Would that be correct?
Yes.
Okay, but it's only, like I said, it's only if we're utilizing the scales for which the purpose they were put there in the first place, I guess by utilizing that, if it's over the 1,000 kilograms or a ton. The other stuff, anybody that brings down a bike or anybody that brings down a little piece of metal, they can throw it on the scrap pile still.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right,
So-
I probably don't have a big problem with it myself.
But I understand where Councillor Thompson's coming from, and
Yeah, I do
I have
too.
no difficulties making that free. If you want to make that zero charge, that's,
Rebecca?
Might I ask how much revenue was generated off of scrap metal last year?
good question. I don't have that at the tip of my fingers, Councillor Herger,
Okay,
but
and what is if you don't have it, that's okay. I'd like to know that amount though. The other thing is, what's the plus or minus on the scale? What's the gap?
it's around 10 kgs. It depends on which way the wind's blowing. It adjusts, it floats a little bit either way of 10 kilograms. And that's normal. I was told that's normal, and sometimes it'll rest right at, but there is a reset on the scale that you can reset it and it zeroes out immediately.
Fair, yeah. So, I mean, we don't have any business case for keeping it at $25 for 1,000 kg. We don't have any, I mean, if you think about recycling, what do we do with recycle? We accept that for free and we sell it off and we receive revenue back. It's the same thing with scrap metal, right? We still have to move it. We still have to do stuff with it. So back to Rob's point, that should be, thank you for bringing it down to the landfill and putting it in the right spot. And we're making money off of it, no charge.
Are we ready to make this bylaw was introduced? There's been a suggestion that we go to just introducing it, reading it twice. But if we put that amendment in there at 0, do we want to go ahead and pass the bylaw? And if we need any more amendments, we can do that. But that seems to be the sticking point here this morning. Doug?
Yeah, I'd be in favor of making that amendment to 0 for now, and I think it's important that we get this bylaw passed so that we have a set fee schedule so that people can't question why are we charging if we don't have a bylaw. So we need to get the bylaw in place. We can always amend it, we can always change it, and we're going to get some data from our weigh scales and from our changes. So let's start somewhere. So let's start with this and go from there.
Okay. So that was the mover that said amend that to 0. Amend the other one. The other amendment was on the bags would be under 20K.
20 kilograms or less.
Yeah. For your garbage or refuse throwing stuff away. So if we had those two amendments on the fee schedule, Doug?
Explain that garbage one because I didn't catch all that. What is the change there?
Well, the change was that it says, how's it written there right now? Rate per one. But what it was, rate per 20 kilograms or less.
$5.
It's a $5 minimum. So quite frankly, if you could bring 6 bags in,
If it's under 20,
that were under 20, you know, it's 6 bags, but it's by weight, so it's a $5 minimum charge if they're got light material in the bags.
Okay, so I'm still, so what's the change? It says minimum charge $5.
Under 20 kilos, under 20 kilos. So you're at 20 kilos, but it says one bag, minimum $5. But it should say garbage under 20 kilos, $5 minimum,
Okay,
all right?
all right.
And then the second one is the steel or metal is at 0. Same as all the rest of our recycling. Brent?
Just one more thing, Your Worship, and this is going back to the scrap metal. I didn't put it in the Normandy land transfer station tipping fees, and I'm wanting to know if council wants to accept scrap metal in Normandy. I haven't got on the fee schedule, but if this council wants to include scrap metal in Normandy.
Well, do we have to transfer it, or is it?
No, because we are accepting fridges and things like that. So when the metal hauler comes down there, he's already picking up that stuff anyway. So it was, I missed it on here, and I just want to make sure that this council's okay that I include scrap metal again on
And
here.
I think that would be consistent.
Yeah.
That would be consistent with our recycling. We accept it, Normandy.
Yeah.
Those types of items. It's not that they're going to be landfilled there, but it's just as a transfer station. So not that it's transferred out every week to Bentig type of thing as the garbage, but it's just a holding area. And it's what I was meaning, the license does allow us to do that. So absolutely, I would suggest the council puts that in. Good with that?
Has to be an amendment also?
Would be
Yeah.
another amendment, would be
Okay.
further, but it's just adding it in. Yeah, that was the 20. Okay, we good with those three amendments? All right. So I'll read the motion again, and we're ready to go with it. It's moved by Doug Hutchison, second by Rob Thompson. Be resolved that bylaw number 112, 2018, being a bylaw to regulate handling and collection of garbage, rubbish, and other waste materials, and confirm the schedule of fees for the use of the Municipality of West Grey waste disposal sites, be now read a first, second, and third time. Passed as amended and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. The three amendments being the $20 or the 20 kg minimum charge at 5, not just one bag, but minimum 20 kgs. The second one being the elimination of the charge for metal recycling, and the third one, Normanby, be included in that metal recycling acceptance. Okay? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay. Bylaw 113, moved by Bev Cutting, seconded by Aaron Herget. Be resolved that bylaw number 113, 2018, being a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk, CEO, deputy clerk to enter into a lease option agreement between the Municipality of West Grey and Mary A. McKay, be now read a first, second, and third time. Passed and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. As I said, this bylaw was just a renewal of the aggregate agreement between Mary McKay and the Municipality of West Grey. 2 gravel pits are side by side there. Any further questions on this bylaw? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. All right, and number 114 is the confirming bylaw. I have a motion moved by Rob Thompson, seconded by John A. Bell. Be it resolved that bylaw number 114, 2018, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the October 1st, 2018 council meeting, be now read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered, and said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, be engrossed in the bylaw book. Any questions on this motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Carried. Very good. New business. Newstead Rec. Rebecca, you had pulled that from the consent. Your question was?
So there were some items that were, they were not identified, but they were sold out of the mezzanine level. And so I guess I was just looking for clarification on what was sold and if it was profitable.
Doug?
Yeah, I can
Will you
speak
give
to
us an
that. It was brought to our attention, there was a number of things in there, that sort of old stuff that was getting rid of. The big part was the old wooden tables. There were some old wooden tables that Tom had pulled down, and they put a lot of the stuff out on the arena floor there and sold them off. So I don't know, I remember all the details of what all was there, but it was just sort of a housekeeping thing to get rid of some junk, I think, basically, in the mezzanine to make some room. So they did get rid of a lot of things. If we asked Tom, I'm sure he could tell us. And the amount, I can't remember the amount of money, but I'm guessing it was $300 or something they got a bit of money for the tables just because somebody thought they could use them for something. But they were, yeah, it was just a housekeeping thing. And there wasn't a lot of money made from it, and there wasn't a lot of stuff either, but just some items that have been around for a long time.
So those were items that were owned by the municipality or the recreation department? Here's the thing.
It'd be the municipality, yeah.
Yeah, so was there any notice given that these were being sold? I know the library tried to offer some items, you know, to another library system, and it was heavily scrutinized here about whose it was, how we're advertising, we're disposing of municipal property. Yeah. And so I guess I'm really trying to see what is our process, what is our procedure for doing those type of things. I know when Brent you know, wants to sell something, it goes through Gov Deals and so on, and it's a very open process. Yeah. But I mean, if somebody wanted that one table, would they have had an opportunity to come on over and pay for it? I mean, I guess.
I don't have the answer to that, Rebecca, but maybe our Madam CAO could talk with Tom about that and how that all went about. I know just being at that meeting it came up. We looked at some of the things that were for sale and then they were sold. And so I don't know the process there, but maybe it's something we need to clean up.
And so further to that, there was discussion from the parks earlier this year. There was there was a building and we had talked about maybe that just needs to be cleared out as well. So you're right. These things, you know, they accumulate and we kind of garage sale it, right? But do we have a process or a procedure, and then are we doing that with each department on a regular basis or just as it comes up?
Thank you, Mayor Eccles. Thank you for the question. In fact, you raise a good point. We should be doing an inventory of things that we no longer have a need for, and as we're working through the terms of reference, which are out there for feedback still, this would be a very good item to incorporate into that, so I'll make a note of that.
And maybe we can use the City of Owen Sound, their disposal. I don't know whether anybody's gone on to the Rockford auctions, Sydenham auctions. City has about 142 items from chairs to filing cabinets to bookcases. They're getting ready to move back into the renovated building. But there again, did anybody know here that Owen Sound was selling them on the online auction? I got one person nodding their head and four going, nope. I've got another person here beside me. Mark saying, I don't think that there's anything from West, you know, that we want from the City of Owen Sound. You know, some of these items, but I think Laura said that we'll address that in the upcoming terms of reference for those committees when it comes down to that, you know, excess inventory that, you know, how's the best use of it? Instead of going to our landfill, is there an opportunity for a yard sale type of thing? Go ahead.
So the only other thing that I noticed in the recreation minutes was that Scott Forrester's name was spelled wrong. The last name was just a spelling error. But beyond that, I'm okay to move those minutes.
Well, they were approved at the committee level, and that's where they were produced. So if Scott didn't pick up that his name was good for you, was spelled wrong. Yeah, we'll we'll bring them back to the next meeting with that clerical adjustment. Well, we can check through with the committee of whether they'll let us. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, not wanting to beleaguer this, but Doug, I'm going to presume that the advisory committee made a call to sell those tables and to use that money to provide new tables?
It went back into their budget, so.
And they were buying new tables?
They're talking, that's in their discussions about new tables, because that came forward to us, right, also, and, so, I mean, they're having that discussion, but, yeah, and there's no decision made.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay. Brent? Turn on your mic so Adam can hear you.
Sorry,
and
Your
everybody
Worship.
else.
Just one thing, I'm looking for council's guidance on the Normanby landfill, about if we have to go to bylaw, how long we're going to keep it open. I need a date, because what I'd like to do is put up a sign and, again, provide formal notice to the people of Normanby of the decision. I'm assuming that based on the meeting that we had a week ago Tuesday, I think, or a week and a half ago, I haven't done anything with that yet, but I'd like to tear down the signs that are there and put up a, or does this have to go to bylaw? I'm not sure.
I'm not sure whether it needs to be as much of a bylaw as it does a resolution, so I would suggest we'll look forward to your report at the next council meeting.
Okay. I apologize.
With a suggestion for that, and give time for council to think. Yeah. But the idea is it would stay open as a transfer station for a minimum, I understand in the conversation, was 6 months. So judge your, in your report coming forward at the next council meeting for that.
Okay.
What the cost of the new signage would probably be something else to fill in there too. Of what we've got. So I look forward to that report coming forward at the next meeting. Rebecca?
As part of that report, can you include in there all the costs of, now we've maybe had a few months to know how much extra it would cost to ship, are we getting 3 bins full or 10 bins full of transfer garbage? What that added cost is of shipping, right? Just those extra costs I think would be beneficial to your report as well.
Okay. Good point. Thanks, Rebecca. All right. No other new business, addendums, notice of motion, Rebecca?
I have an item for Brent. Yesterday in Elmwood, there was some discussion about Elmwood signs that are in a public works area ready, waiting to be put up. I noticed the sign on the south edge of town appeared to me to be a newer sign, with an elm tree and everything like this. But Steve was at the meeting yesterday, so we took it up with Steve. He maybe mentioned that there was signage yet to be put up. So would you be able to liaise with Steve and check on signage? I understand it's already bought, paid for, and ready to be put up. So it would just be the time to install. That's all I have.
Okay. We'll have Brent follow up on that. Those are spectacular signs. They've gone through many times of design to get to where we're at now. Okay. Any other new business? Addendums, notice of motion, closed session. Don't believe we have any need for that. Question.
Slow down, you got 5 minutes.
Question period.
Oh, there you go. We're good.
And there are a few out here. Yeah. We can drag this out if you want to go ahead, Ms. Cuddy. Marianne. Please, Ms. Ratcliffe.
Hi, Marianne Ratcliffe. I have a question, maybe more for Brent than for you guys, but it's regarding the organic matter that's coming into the dump, the leaf waste, branches, stumps, what we're doing with it. For the leaf waste and stuff, do you have a compost program either here in Westgray, or are you partnering with somebody? But also, stump fences? Can we bring back stump fences? Do people know that they can rent a chipper? They don't have to bring branches and limbs and things into the dump, that they can chip it at home and use it in their garden as a mulch. So what are we doing to educate people, and what are we doing to reduce that stuff coming in?
I'll take the question, and through me,
Yep.
Brent,
Yep.
go ahead.
Hey, great question, and the answer to regarding the compost, again, we have met with a consultant. Our C of A has to be changed to allow compost to be, especially the compost you're talking about. We're looking at developing a proper composting system within our landfills, so we're not going to be burning it. What I'd like to do is offer the landfills to accept compost other than brush and things. The stuff that can be burned is placed in another area. The actual compost from house biodegradable compost, I'm looking at developing spots within our landfills that can house and store that material, and use it for remediation of the landfill down the line or in the future, so that material can be placed. Eventually it breaks down into topsoil, and utilize that material to be placed in the landfill to help us put cover over the landfill once it's completed. Secondly, looking at educating the public and looking at promoting a composting program, again through council, is offering the ability, West Grey, and I've said this before in my report back in the summer. I had a comprehensive landfill report that spoke to composting and getting that message out to the people about possibly the council supporting at a small fee is having every household have a composting bin on their property, so they can take that. The idea is to remove the food that they consume, and it's not, or sorry, the non-consumable food is placed into the compost rather than into the garbage. So again, we're looking at a number of things, educating the, I've got some material, I haven't had the opportunity yet, but we'd like to approach the schools and getting into the schools and starting out with the youth and showing or teaching the youth, or having the educators in the schools provide some teachings to the youth on some of those initiatives that we're trying to bring across. I think it's very important that they're the key to our future, is to educate the youth, and hopefully they take that message home and they're practicing those good things at home. So again, it's coming. It's just, you know, we're working at it, and it's a very large project, as where a lot of things that we are trying to do positively with our landfills to create, allow the landfill's site life to expand, not decrease.
Just one question about the burning. Would it be, I think personally, it would be better to chip it than to burn it. If you chip it, you're turning it into a usable product that can be applied to gardens and or for reclamation of your dump site, whereas when you burn it, you're creating ash, which is actually higher in carcinogens and other materials, and you're just creating smoke, which isn't good for anybody either.
No, a very good point, Marianne, and I'm sorry, is that right?
Yep.
Marianne, yep.
Mary, sorry. Very good point. That was brought up at one of the meetings that we had down in Normanby, and I took it to heart. But the big thing is that you have to have staff there managing that stuff as it comes in. You can't stockpile that stuff and then try to pull it apart. My experience and my knowledge, I've seen it happen that when you try to, when you have big piles of brush that's stockpiled, you'll never get it apart. And we just don't have the staff or the resources to do that type of work, unless we were going to have volunteer groups that want to do it. But it's just something that we just physically can't do. We don't have the staff or resources. But it's a great idea. I mean, I wish we could, but it's all about the economics of having the staff and and things like that. So unfortunately, it's
It
not
is what it
doable
is.
at this time.
Okay.
At this time.
So
Okay.
we're working on it. I think that's the best that we can say, and we recognize. But I think it takes a lot of education. And being one of the things that we do have, it's a rural community, composting in the urban areas is considerably more, has factors that in the rural area we don't have that much with. A number of farms for a number of years have done a very good job of composting and having that compost pile. Usually it's out behind the barn and it all gets worked through, and you're exactly right. You know, it's been done there. That's the rural way of doing it, but that is not possible in our urban areas and in the more intensified homes that we're building. So something we'll have to look at. Thanks. Right. Okay. Any other questions? Mr. Miller. Oop. Don't.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Subject was brought up here a few minutes ago about signs. I'm wondering, about a year ago, I mentioned about a sign at the west end of the 6th of the old Bannock Township. It should be repaired, removed, or something. The question is, can that be made to happen? Right, just down from County Road 10. It's a disgrace to the municipality.
I guess the best way I'll say to that is, yes, I was past it the other day, a week ago when I was coming from a dinner in Elmwood. Then, yes, I agree with you, and I think the Public Works staff will be notified. We will take it down, because that's going to be my recommendation, is to take it down, see whether it can be refurbished, or whether a new sign needs to be produced to put up there.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing it to my attention, Bob.
Now, going back to your famous landfill tipping fee bylaw, that was a little late getting out. We talked about who could use the landfill. You said residents, my opinion, landowners. I could live outside of the municipality, own property in the municipality, and have garbage waste from the land in the municipality, to take it to the landfill, and they say, I can't come here because you don't live here.
I guess it's an interpretation of what you wanted to say. I guess I was meaning that residents would be property owners.
Yeah, well.
So we'll leave it at that, yeah.
Okay, now one more thing. Being that I don't see out of one eye very much, I probably missed something in this bylaw that I question. Demolition, construction waste. It's kind of in there, and in particular, used asphalt shingles.
Yes.
How do we handle that?
I would defer on the, that's an operational thing, and how that is interpreted. Brent, do you?
I'm sorry. You want to know what we do with the asphalt shingles?
No, how do you charge for them?
It's by the ton.
Commercial waste?
Again, it's under the, it's under the, currently right now it's under the commercial waste.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good enough, thank you.
Thanks. Thanks, Bob. Anyone else? Any other questions? Seeing none, Municipal Act notices. We have none. Adjournment. Seeing as we're 5 minutes late, Ms. Cutting, I guess we've extended that past your 5 minutes early, so we feel good about that. Councillor Herget and Councillor Hutchison move that we adjourn. I'll accept that. All in favor? Yes, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.
you.